Hello, welcome to my episode 4 and 5 review of Raised by Wolves. It's starting to develop a little bit now, like it's really sort of going somewhere. I do really think that it needs... The problem I have with sci-fi, right, is when sci-fi falls into the realms of fantasy as well. And unfortunately this is kind of going into like pseudo-fantasy sci-fi, which I don't know. I think that something great about science fiction is having, well, the science part of it really, is that they establish ways things work and then they work within the realms of that universe. That's what good sci-fi really does, right? Like it establishes the rules of the universe and it doesn't break them. And I do feel that this has gone very far forward into fantastical, religious based sci-fi. Like there almost seems like a higher being at work here, and I know that the show is treading that fine line because it's telling the story of atheists and religion, so there is an element of religion in there, but because because of that and some of the things that they're doing here, I struggle to connect with it on the science fiction level. I like it and it's very pretty, but the sci-fi tends to fall apart a little bit, and I'll get onto some examples in a minute. I do want to just say some commentary over last week's review. A lot of people had issue with the fact that I said it was quite lazy because of the comparisons with Prometheus and Alien, and that, you know, this could be connected to Alien. It absolutely cannot be. We can say that with 100% certainty because this is owned by HBO Max and HBO. It's not owned by Ridley Scott, remember. He didn't create this. He also didn't actually create Alien. That was written by Dan O'Bannon, Ronald Shusett, and all of the Android editions of Alien, believe it or not, were actually given up by Walter Hill and David Giller. They were their ideas. Ridley Scott doesn't own Alien. Disney owns Alien. So there is no connection here outside of Easter eggs and a little bit of laziness on reusing shots. Now, that's part of... need to say that, because a lot of people are misconstrued over Ridley Scott's sort of, you know, grandeur in the sort of world of filmmaking. He was brought on really late to direct Alien. He didn't write it, he didn't create it, he literally just directed it. And all the additions that were there were not his. But this is not a Ridley Scott Alien review, but because of last week and people saying that it could be connected to Alien, and because it looks so much like the world of Alien currently, it has to be said. And I think that may change people's perception of it, you know, knowing the fact that it can't possibly be connected. People may go, well then that's a shame, because it does seem like they're recycling ideas. But anyway, it's developing somewhat now. Now, I sort of opened this and I spoke about sci-fi and fantastical elements and things like that. What I mean by that is that we see that the androids are seeing someone now. They're seeing one of the children, right? They're experiencing hallucinations, but they're not hallucinations. And you might say, well, they're degrading, and they're not even degrading because they're both experiencing it. And there are physical manifestations of what they see. So they're not seeing anything. They're not degrading. There is a fantastical element at play. And there's even like a monolithic type structure which is speaking to people. Now, there is the potential that all of this is going to be some kind of rustic technological throwback infecting everyone, i.e. the androids as well as the humans alike. Now, like I say, in terms of what's been said or seen, should I say, by the androids, they're seeing an apparition of a little girl. The humans come across a monolithic type structure. It's a was it like a hexagonal type cubey sort of structure thing, and it was giving off heat radiation. So it seemed like there was some kind of technological aspect to it. But then our guy, our leader of the atheists started to hear voices. So I don't really know what's going on there. This is where I start to think, well, this fantastical element is going a little bit too far. And it's the same with Mother, right? Mother's eyes are how she's weaponized. Maybe, and here's me forgiving the show somewhat, maybe the eyes are a key to unlock, you know, like a gatekeeper to her powers of her body. You know, it's like a code. Maybe the code is in her eyes, you know, which allow her to do these things. But then she can tell people to go to sleep. Sleep now, and they just go to sleep. And I'm like, is this fucking Star Wars? Like, what's going on here? And I do like the fact that she flies, you know, in the Jesus Christ pose and things like that. I think there's a lot of really good elements here, if it wasn't attempting to be so based in science fiction. Now, anyway, what actually happens in these 2 episodes? One was a huge filler episode. I think it was the last one. Episode 4, things happened. Episode 5 was filler. The children are obviously trying to find food. They need to go and kill the creature that they've got in the sort of store. One of them goes to kill them, realizes that, you know, it's got a baby in it, but they eat it anyway. But it's sort of humanoid, but it's not. Then we also find out that there's a human still on the planet, but from somewhere else. And we learn more about Mother's backstory. That's the kind of filler episode, because her backstory doesn't tell us any further forward of how she is now, but it fills us in on, you know, who she was and how she came to be. But I'm also, in filling in her backstory of Campion, the actual scientist Campion that came, shot at her, took her, reprogrammed her, I'm also at a loss for understanding the sort of the factions now, because it's almost like you've got the people of Soul, then atheists, but then Campion was a splinter cell faction of the atheists, just by himself. You'd think he would be quite prominent in power with the atheists, wouldn't you, right? But apparently he was part of the Soul people. They, you know, he was quite well to do, and he used their money and education against them. He split off from them, and then built his own last savior of humanity. But the other atheists didn't, or did they? You know, because when we see him, he's by himself. He's operating by himself. He's in a location by himself. He doesn't seem to be connected to anyone else at all. So I am like, oh well, is there other factions? What's going on here? And maybe there are other factions because there's another man on the planet, which is interesting as well. But basically, not a lot happens in these last few episodes. The androids start to see some more things, which throws into question, like I say, whether there's some kind of technological aspect on Kepler 22b. Because I think to myself when I'm watching this show, did they send people there because they know that the planet is good? Campion sent the androids to the planet, right? And they know to expect the people of Soul. So did everyone just know about this planet? Or did the people of Soul pick up on the androids and go there? Because if that is the case, did Campion already set up some form of technology on the planet to get people there? Because if so, he did a pretty crap job because they can't really eat anything. Or did he send them there just because he knows it's somewhat hospitable to human life? But even then it's not, because they're almost freezing to death. It's so confusing. It's so confusing. But I'm hoping it's going somewhere. I like it. Like, this is the thing. Like, I did my objective review. I said what I liked and what I disliked. But people, the moment you say you dislike something, they just focus in on that. They're only focusing on the negatives. This is what I mean. People only ever focusing on the negatives. But I liked a lot of the first few episodes. I was just a bit apprehensive of the sort of laziness that was going on. But I hope it's going somewhere. It seems to be. And anyway, they discuss. But going back to the people of Soul, I'm a little bit disjointed in this review. Sorry. Going back to the people of Soul, they go back to the Ark, and they find the rapist that raped all the women. By the way, because that happened in the last one, and he's got some like medieval contraption on his head. It looks super dumb, like paper mache. Awful. awful. It reminds me of Monty Python and the Black Knight. It literally reminds me of Monty Python and the Black Knight. It's super lame. That's a real bad prop. It really is a bad prop. I'll be intrigued to see how they go with the People of Seoul because of the two infiltrators. It almost like they're setting up like a weird love triangle going on there, and some sort of internal, fighting between everyone. But it'll be Jasper jumped in. It'll be interesting to see how they develop it all. But let me know your thoughts on this. The thing is, there's all these there's tales of prophecies and things like that, which is fine when you're dealing with religious aspects. And yeah, both parties, Campion and the little boy, I can't remember the little boy's name, but the other little boy, neither of them have actual parents, do they, right? So they're setting up that either of them could be the chosen one. But when we're dealing, and we're basing it in strict sci-fi, because of androids, I struggle to latch on to that prophetical element. And I don't know about anyone else, but when we're dealing with sci-fi, that's something which I focus in on quite a lot. The actual science aspect. Because I like to know how things work in universes. But anyway, there's my review. What do you think? Let me know down below in the comments. I will keep reviewing these bit by bit. But this is episode 4 and 5 review. Let me know your thoughts down below. As always, with Mr. H, take care.